Welcome to the Guy at the Movies podcast. This is episode 25, and we are recording a little bit early on this 8th day of December. Beautiful weather out there today here in Pennsylvania. Sean, how are things where you are?
Oh, my throat immediately froze when I opened my mouth this morning. It was great. I loved it.
Well, that's quite something. We have a special guest with us tonight where it is not 20 degrees Fahrenheit. It is probably something Celsius, and I don't know that. So, Hayley, how are you on Limited Reviews?
I'm good, thank you. How are you both?
Oh, just delightful. Better than Christopher Nolan, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump into what we've been watching and just get going on that because we have a lot that we want to discuss. And some background for the listeners here is that we do have some big news that came out, I think the day or two after our last episode regarding HBO Max. And Sean, Hayley, and I have been raging about different aspects of it via Instagram. So we're excited to bring that to you all tonight. So stay tuned for some craziness. But hey, I have been watching really not much. I kind of fell into a television hole of just watching true crime. And I don't know why. I just needed something at night to loosen up. And true crime is what does it for me, apparently. But I did watch Promising Young Woman. I'll be releasing the review once the embargo lifts. But I finally saw Freaky last week. And Freaky was a movie that I was really looking forward to. Of course, it kind of plays on Freaky Friday, but it's more so about a serial killer switching bodies with a teenage girl. I was lukewarm about it. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. Maybe I was hyping it up in my head a little bit too much, but I just felt like all the laughs didn't really land. Vince Vaughn, I thought, was really funny and really entertaining, actually. And Vince Vaughn kind of becomes stale a lot for me in some of the roles. So I did like that, but if you saw the previews, I feel like you saw the movie, unfortunately, and I hate that. But Sean, I know you watched Freaky as well. What did you think of it?
Freaky, I will really echo your feelings about it. I liked it a little more. I thought the movie as a whole was very fun. I think that there were some, I hate to discuss plot holes in a movie about a body where a serial killer and a high school girl switch bodies, but there were a few things that just really, I just said, there's a little character motivations that didn't match up at times, and that really bothered me. I'm trying to do this without spoiling. I mean, there's not really anything to spoil. But I agree with you on Vince Vaughn. Absolutely wonderful. Really just because I saw that, I'm like, he can't do this role. He doesn't have the range for this role, and he actually does. And he doesn't go too over the top, which is weird. I mean, he's over the top somewhat, but there's a subtlety to what he's doing, which is pretty great.
Yeah, but I will say that after seeing Jack Black do the same exact thing in the two Jumanji movies, Jack Black, I think, did it perfectly for me because he was over the top, right? Yeah. So seeing a more muted version of that kind of bothered me a little bit. But there's a scene, and this isn't a spoiler, but there's a scene where he's in a car and he just keeps saying hashtag, what are we doing here? Hashtag, what's going on? Hashtag. It was so funny to me, and I don't know why, but maybe I just needed stupid humor.
To avoid the spoilers, what happened next in that car was probably one of the funniest and most fascinating and most disturbing things. And I absolutely loved that occurred.
It was so weird.
And that'll be something that we will not talk about because it's disturbing, but also because it's a bit of a spoiler, but it is great.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I was going to say it's not been released in the UK yet, so I haven't even had a chance to see it. So
don't worry, they're going to release it on HBO Max. But you'll be good.
It's the release schedule worldwide is always interesting to me when it comes to that. I don't know if what comes out. I don't know. There's no rhyme or reason to it, right? It's either going to release overseas first or release here, and then once it hits VOD, it's a whole nother ball game because there's different distributors and such that they have to negotiate with to get it on VOD. So that really does stink, but. Hey, this is payback for all those movies that I can't remember right now, but the ones that you get before we do.
Bond movies, generally.
seems legit. I mean,
it's a trade-off. But Sean, walk us through some of the other movies that you saw. No spoilers, as much as you can.
Oh, no spoilers at all. I am gonna just really cruise through these. And Ammonite, the Saoirse Ronan, Kate Winslet lesbian drama, which that's all they marketed it on, and that's all they depended on for it, and therefore it lacked because it was very hollow. I'm going to skip that one because that's the one I'm going to talk about big time. We got Black Bear, the Aubrey Plaza vehicle, which I think is either a brilliant masterpiece for the ages or one of the worst films of all time. So I gave it a C because I don't know which one it is. I think it's a little bit inconsistent based on how it's split into two parts, and I don't know what it was trying to say, but it might be saying some of the greatest stuff that has ever been said in movie history. Aubrey Plaza, though, is fantastic, and that's something great. Freaky, we talked about. I saw the third quote-unquote episode, I'm calling it movie, the third movie of the Small Axe franchise because, oh my goodness, Steve McQueen made and directed 5 movies this year, and they are being released right now on Amazon, and everyone needs to get involved with them, especially this one, Red, White, and Blue. John Boyega plays someone in the, I believe, 80s who was joining the rather racist police department at that time, and it's just really anger-inducing, really just like gets you fired up, and but it's truly still just a beautiful picture. I saw Mank, and I love Mank. It was something that really like reached me. It was something truly beautiful, and I loved the way it was constructed. Mank is something that I don't know if, and I hate the word, but I'm doing it. Cinephiles. I don't know if it's for cinephiles or not for cinephiles. I know other people that have seen it that have also liked it. So maybe you don't need to see Citizen Kane in order to, have to enjoy this movie. It would be a very interesting experiment to find out if you do or not. And then let's see, what else do I have going on here? I saw The New Mutants. I also saw Between the World and Me. So the New Mutants has this amazing premise that just is not delivered on, and if it would have been delivered on, this absolutely awesome premise and setup, it would have been probably my favorite X-Men movie, but they just kind of dropped the ball, and it's it's unfortunate. I get kind of bummed out about that. And then finally, or not finally, but Between the World and Me is basically the film version of the Ta-Nehisi Coates book. And it is several Black actors who are reading portions of the book as it goes through them in different situations. And that's another one where it just gave me chills to my bone, without a doubt. The one I'm going to talk about big time, I know I talked about a lot, but might be my favorite movie of the year. The year is still not done, so there's a few others in there. But Sound of Metal, I was drawn in, or I was told to watch it because of the Riz Ahmed performance, which, guess what, is probably one of the best performances of the year as well. And that does not let you down. The movie itself is constructed so well, and it is made so perfectly for what it's trying to do. It opens up the deaf community into an enlightening and empowering level that obviously I've never experienced. I think that the way this movie handles sound and the way this movie handles the journey of a character is absolutely top-notch amazing. So Sound of Metal is my strongest recommendation for the week, the year, the decade. What's the century? Which century? We're good. Yeah, the century and all in between. Whew, okay.
Hayley, did you see Sound of Metal yet? Is that out over there?
No, I literally saw some stuff for it earlier, and I haven't had a chance to have a look at it yet. But I am interested. I can't remember the name of the guy, the lead actor.
Riz Ahmed.
Yes, him. But I've liked him in loads of other films that I've seen him in. So yeah, it's definitely something that's on my radar to watch.
That was an interesting film to me, Sean. I knew you would love it because you were looking forward to it all along. It's your type of movie. His performance is phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. The movie kind of lost some steam for me as it went, but I like what it was doing. I like exactly what it the representation in the film, of course, is something that I grasped onto right away. But I really enjoyed that.
I'm actually going to cut in because I think it was deliberately supposed to slow down at parts. And that's something that held me back at first. But this was supposed to deliberately slow and just take its time and marinate for character interactions. And so that's why I think it does slow and loses steam, as you're saying. I can tell that, and like you just said, that's sort of deliberate, but that that might be one of the moments by it. Oh,
I didn't say it was deliberate. You said it was deliberate.
Oh,
I think it's a poor choice. But anyway,
I thought you said. Oh, okay, never mind.
Hayley, what have you been watching?
So I'm kind of now delving into all the Christmas stuff. I've gone fully festive, just trying to catch up on Christmas films I've not seen before. I basically did a post the other day to find out if people to recommend me stuff. So I've got quite a bit of a mix in there. But first of all, have to watch the Harry Potters every year before Christmas. I don't know why. They're not overly Christmassy, but they just make me feel really festive. So I watched all of those back to back and did a ranking for those. And yeah, just love Harry Potter. I love going to the studios. It's just a major deal to me. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh, you ranked it weirdly. But for me, it's kind of, there's a lot to it in terms of going to the studios, seeing the stuff, the back, the behind the scenes stuff, some of the sets, some of the props. The new set that they've got there for Gringotts Bank makes a massive difference to how you see and experience those films when you watch them after you've been there. So yeah, I mean that makes a big difference. And in terms of other stuff, Lego Star Wars, not a fan. I love Star Wars, but it was just a bit boring.
The Lego movies are always like hit or miss, Lego products, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I just found it a little bit hard going. Just not. It wasn't funny enough, but then some of the bits that were a bit silly, and then it just seemed to repeat itself. Trading Places, which is an awesome film, and I love. And I've watched it so many times, but I must admit, this time round I watched it and I kind of went, oh, didn't remember this scene. That's a little bit problematic in places. But yeah, absolutely love it. Watch it every year. And probably a choice that's not so, it seems to be really mixed, but Jingle Jangle, which I know Joe really didn't like.
I hated that movie.
I watched it the other day and I watched it with my husband and we really loved it. Like we were singing along and just had a ball with it. We really, really enjoyed it. Just the energy of it, the musical style of it and the energy that it brought. We just really enjoyed it. I even ended up having to watch the end again because he had to go out. So he missed the end and I quite happily watched it again and I would watch it again. So yeah, I'm a fan of Jingle Jangle.
I will agree with you on the music and the energy. I did actually really enjoy that because I love a good musical. I'm really excited for Prom on Friday on Netflix because that's just my type of movie. The Greatest Showman, I battle about all the time. But Sean, you have some comments on this Jingle Jangle love.
First of all, it was very weird that you said I'm excited for Prom on Friday, but
The Prom coming out on Netflix on Friday.
I mean, listen, Jingle Jangle. I like to like things. I try to like things. I will confess I have not watched all of Jingle Jangle. I got home from a party after having a lot of wine and a lot of beer, and we watched about 15 to 30 minutes of it. We said, I don't think this is for us. So that Jingle Jangle couldn't even get me drunk like that. It just
it didn't need to apparently.
No, it didn't need to, but it wouldn't be able to have success if it did. But I listen. I enjoy when other people enjoy things, so I cannot. When you enjoy them more than Frank Capra classics, that gets me going a little bit. But I understand this is where we are. It's perfectly okay.
Maybe I'm just feeling far too festive, and Jingle Jangle just hit me right in the festiveness. And It's a Wonderful Life, not so much. Made me a bit depressed for Christmas.
Well, yeah, you didn't like the holiday scene where George Bailey tries to commit suicide? That wasn't a big one for you?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I did. It wasn't a song. Maybe that was the problem.
Oh no, yeah, that's what makes that situation better.
If it had done jazz hands just before he dived off the bridge, maybe that would have been better.
If Clarence was behind him and did a little ditty, that would have been the thing that really brought you home.
We are heading down a dark path, so I am gonna bring us back together. Because you can watch, I believe, It's a Wonderful Life on HBO Max, which is the topic of the big story that we want to talk about here. And what we are about to discuss is really kind of, I can't underestimate this enough. It's huge news. The fact that HBO last week, and I should back up and say Warner Brothers announced that all of its 2021 releases were going to be debuting on the streaming service of HBO Max for no additional cost on the same day that they are released in theaters. What this looks like is you're going to be able to go to theaters if they're open where you are and if you feel safe enough to see the film, but you're also going to be able to stream from the comfort of your own home for a month. After that month, the film will be removed from the streaming service, and the theatrical experience will be the only way that you can see those films. What are we talking about when we talk about films that are being released? Tom and Jerry, Godzilla vs. Kong, Mortal Kombat, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, In the Heights, Space Jam, A New Legacy, The Suicide Squad, Dune, Matrix 4, a lot of big films. So, of course, this was met with just shock to a lot of people, but excitement for people that don't want to go to theaters and can actually see the films. But when we talk about the industry here, the industry is having a number of varied reactions. AMC Theaters, which is the number one movie, is it the number? I think it's the number one. I may be wrong there. But they basically said, quote unquote, Warner Media now intends to sacrifice a considerable portion of the profitability of its movie studio division and that of its production partners and filmmakers to subsidize its HBO Max startup. They are conversing with Warner Brothers leadership to figure out what this looks like moving forward. Cineworld, who owns Regal Entertainment Group in the States and is the second largest chain worldwide, just simply expressed, kind of did the political talk. We're this is interesting. We're going to explore what this means for us. So that's happening. Cinemark said one step at a time, kind of taking the same path. But some people are not as happy as, or I guess as politically correct as the latter two in that story. Legendary Pictures being one of them. So Legendary is a studio that funded about 75% of both Dune and Godzilla vs. Kong. They apparently, according to a press release, were not informed of the decision until 30 minutes prior to the announcement that their films will be going to HBO Max. So they're obviously not happy about that because the general feel is you're not going to make as much money on the film as you would if it was in theaters. So Legendary is said to be considering legal action of some sort. They were going to send or already have sent what I'd like to call a strongly worded letter from a lawyer. So we'll see what happens there. But then today we got Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan is not happy with this whole deal. And this is what he said. Some of our industry's biggest filmmakers and most important movie stars went to bed the night before thinking they were working for the greatest movie studio and woke up to find out they were working for the worst streaming service. Essentially, he says that the decision makes no economic sense, and even the most casual Wall Street investor can see the difference between disruption and dysfunction. So Christopher Nolan, a.k.a. the savior of cinema, is not happy about this. Hayley, I want to turn to you first on this to get your thoughts, because I know that you feel pretty strongly. Well,
obviously I'm from the UK. We do not get HBO Max. It's not. I think I read somewhere that they're looking to roll it out maybe in Europe in late 2021, early 2022. So we're not going to get it for ages anyway. And the one thing that kind of really gets me, and I do get that people don't feel safe but going to the cinema and things like that, it's the fact that they're going to release Dune on streaming. Now, I'd seen a trailer for it in the cinema. I then saw a trailer for it in IMAX when I went to see Akira remaster, just before we went back into lockdown. The difference between watching it on a normal cinema screen to seeing that trailer on an IMAX screen was absolutely phenomenal. Like, it actually blew me away. There is no way that film should be watched on anything other than a cinema screen. It makes no sense to me. No one is going to watch it on a TV and be like, oh yeah, that was a great film. It might seem okay, but you're just not going to get that feel. And I also don't really understand how they're going to make money from it going on to HBO Max. Because if most people can't get it, and the people in America who already have it have already paid for it, and you're not having to pay any premium like you did for Mulan on Disney Plus, how are they going to make money?
And recognizing that a lot of these big blockbuster films rely on the large grosses from overseas as well. I totally agree with you there. Not giving them giving overseas outside of the United States markets the opportunity to see these films is going to be pretty challenging.
Yeah, and Cineworld, which I'm a member, I've got unlimited membership. They've said that they're not reopening in the UK until March 2021. We've got limited cinema openings, and obviously we don't know if we're going to end up back in lockdown again, depending on, we're in this weird tier system, so we could be going in and out of lockdowns across the UK. But surely if stuff goes onto a streaming service, it's just ripe for piracy. And I think that's the thing that kind of gets me the most. I was talking to another Instagram person the other day, and they were saying that in India, piracy is already rife. Like Tenet was about to be released in cinemas, and it was everywhere on piracy. And I think I've read some headlines that piracy is up 3 times what it normally would be with lockdown. So I just kind of don't really understand how they're going to roll stuff like that out onto streaming and not expect it to be on a pirating site within 24 hours, because that's what's going to happen.
I'm with you there. And that's actually what really bothers me about it, is that there's not much control that they can really hold over those that are going to want to pirate it. We see it with, screeners that come out. People still do that and try to figure out ways around, the watermarks that are on those movies and stuff. So yeah, I'm right there with you on everything you said. Sean, how do you feel about this?
It really, it's been a week and I still don't have a coherent thought. It honestly fluctuates to, I will never see the inside of a movie theater again, to everything will be fine and normal after a year. And I think that both are pretty reasonable expectations. I think that this is probably going to hurt theater industries if this were the case anyway. And excuse me, it did hurt theater industries. It started to. Netflix was doing Hollywood level movies and then that were straight up just being released in the homes of everyone. And that's where more people saw them. I mean, sure, they went into the theaters occasionally, but more people said, wait, this is going to be quote unquote free, with subscription, for us in a little while. Why am I paying the money? So I don't know how HBO Max is making money off of this. I don't know how Warner Brothers is making money. On the other hand, though, I don't know how they would make money if they didn't do this. In the sense that right now, otherwise they'd just be movies in theaters that are consistently getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, or released in theaters at a time where either it is not safe or people don't feel safe. So I think their rationale, and it's not a great one, but their rationale was, let's get eyeballs on these films. Let's get people to see them. Part of the problem with Tenet is that a lot of people didn't go to see it because of, the lack of safety in the theaters. And therefore the money issue was a problem, but also it was not a popular movie then. People weren't talking about it. People were kind of talking about it as a flash in the pan. It's a pretty okay, a little bit above average movie is what I've heard. And that was it. And so that might've been the issue. Now, I'm not advocating for this rollout. I obviously read this rollout and it really freaked me out because I think that movies need to be seen in a theater. Every movie in the world, I'd watch First Cow in a theater. Everything should be in the theater. But I think that right now, hopefully, my rationale is hey, listen, this is a pandemic. This is an unprecedented event. There needs to be a way to get the movies out there. But then the fear in me says, well, how do we get the toothpaste back in the tube? If this works out, if this starts to work, other studios might start doing this. Everyone's saying studios are starting to do this right now. And it's well, with the exception of Disney Plus, there's not other studios that really have the streaming services necessary. And if they start making new streaming services, is that really going to work out? So I don't know, if this does drip too far. We're already dealing with a situation where I have way too many streaming services. That monthly bill is just you got to be kidding me. So if they say like, we're going to have the, here it comes. I'm just going to bring this one in. A24 streaming service where you probably just need to like bring a dried shoe and that's okay or something like that because it's artsy. I don't know. I'm just, but I think, there's a part of me that says like, this is the beginning of the end for theaters. And I do feel that the theaters are always under attack. The theaters have always been a problem. And they've been a problem because of the money. And now they're a problem because of COVID. And unfortunately, the people that are saying like, just everybody should go to the theaters, it's majestic, are Christopher Nolan, who probably doesn't really have to worry about the cost of a ticket, but also probably gets a private screening room. So, and other directors that have that situation. And I agree with them in the sense of the theater, but they're not inhibiting the same risks that we as the general public are. And I just don't really know exactly how to approach this because I love Chris Nolan. I, love his movies. I think he's great, but I think he's being just a little bit too cavalier about what's going on.
He's being a dick. I mean, it's the same thing he did over the summer, to be quite honest. Like when there was all those reports over the summer that every time that they went to push Tenet back, them being ironically, or I guess interestingly, Warner Brothers, he was upset about it because he wanted to be the ones that brought the theaters back. Well, hello, Christopher. Now we are in December and theaters are not back and theaters are not going to be back for a while. Plus, you're seeing what's going on with the studio that you make your films at mostly. We're having issues. Here's what frustrates me. From a business standpoint, it's a bad decision it was a bad rollout.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yeah.
Because if you weren't informing people, whether that's your talent, or that's your the partners that you have in the filmmaking industry that are bankrolling these films, that's a big issue. You opted for fanfare and the glitz and glamour of those breaking news posts that we all saw last week over making sure that the people that make your films are actually happy. And what we're finding out is, and there's a ton of rumors out there about different directors and filmmakers that are not happy. Christopher Nolan, of course, being the one that is outspoken about it. But what they also did was, backing up to a conversation that we've had multiple times on this podcast. The theater industry has to reinvent itself. We know that. The pandemic pushed them into that direction, right? So we're seeing the release windows shorten. We've seen some stories about Cinemark making deals to, have a 1 month release window before, home viewing can happen and stuff like that. Warner Brothers just kind of shat on all that and said, we're going to do whatever we want to do. And where that bothers me is that they're losing a lot of bargaining power down the road. So what happens when theaters reopen overseas in March, God willing? What happens when they reopen in the U.S., probably like 3 years after that, given the rate we're going? But, what happens if they do open halfway through next year and Warner Brothers then has to backtrack and say, oh, no, we're just kidding. Like, thank you all for signing up for HBO. But from this point on, or HBO Max, from this point on, they're just going to go straight to theaters. And what are theaters going to say to that? They're probably going to say, like, F you, throw Disney's remake of Peter Pan on 17 screens. Because those studios are going to have the bargaining power. And that's what kind of is shocking to me. And, not to wrap this into a larger Warner Brothers story, but God, do they not know what they're doing? You see how they fumbled the DC universe way back when and all the shit around that. They just mismanage everything that they're handed. And if it's because they need more subscribers to HBO Max, then make better deals, get better content, more current things that people want to see, and figure out a way to do it. Pick a few of those films and throw them onto streaming. You're going to get people, but taking, the knocking the theaters down at their knees or chopping them off at the knees or whatever that saying is not the way to go. And these mom pop theaters that are, all around us. I have a couple around where I'm at right now. I don't know how they're going to survive. Yeah. So that pisses me off. The fan in me is pumped to see these movies, right? Like, I want to see them. So I'm happy that we have releases, but I don't like what it's ultimately going to do. And they needed to have a better system. So, I'm worried because Disney Plus has a presentation, I think, this week or Disney in general. Is it CCCX or whatever that's called?
Yeah.
they have a presentation, and there's a big rumor that they're going to announce that Black Widow is going to streaming, and something similar in that sense, that they're going to put some of their films on Disney Plus a little bit, more frequent. But I don't know. I'm so irritated by it.
The thing is with Disney, though, is that they will absolutely charge. There's no way that they would have those films like Black Widow and other, if they're going to release any other Marvel films or any other big Disney films, there is absolutely no way that they would release those and not put some degree of charge in addition to what you're already paying for the streaming service.
But an argument to that, they just did. They're not charging for Soul.
Well, yeah, I think that's maybe going to get mixed take up anyway, and I don't know that necessarily would have made them quite as much money in cinemas overall. But when you're talking about things like Dune and Wonder Woman and, you know, things that people were seriously hyped to see, that to just release them to a streaming service with no charge, people would pay for those films. People wouldn't, you know, turn around and go, well, I'm not going to pay extra for that. They absolutely would. They would happily pay to go and see it in an IMAX showing, which costs you X amount more than a normal showing. I just don't understand how HBO are actually going to, Warner Brothers are actually going to make money from it. And I can understand why Legendary are going to file a lawsuit, because they're probably looking at it saying, well, what have you done? How are we going to get money back from this? You know, shares in cinema chains have already dropped as soon as the announcement happened. So they've caused a detrimental effect to what is already, a poor accounting year for cinemas anyway. So it's just, I don't know. I just really don't understand the business sense behind it.
And let me tell you, as someone who has stock in some different cinema companies and public offerings, after the Croods had a pretty decent bow over Thanksgiving here in the US, it was like 14 million, but that was still a sign that things could improve and things are going to get better. Stock shot up. And then when HBO did this, it was like, okay, well, JK, we're gone. Pretty much Donald Trump did this. Like that's what this is. It's like a Donald Trump executive order on movies being like, they're going to go to streaming and, you know, it's going to make the best business, the most sense. And then every theater shutters. Ugh. Sean.
I want to romanticize this a little bit in that I think we all have positive memories of the theaters. I think most people listening to this podcast have just these great like memory moments of the theaters. I think that every general person has, you know, great moments, like just great memory moments of the theaters. I think that 90% of the people, when they heard this news, they're like, I get my movie here. And they got really excited and they sat down. And, you know, not to belittle those people, but I get it. Like, you know, you're not the common, you know, like insane movie fan. I do think that that like a common person is not going to see Dune on their couch. I think they will go to the theater. And I think, and I'm pretty sure based on how vaccine news is going, that Dune is going to be in the theaters, or excuse me, it is going to be, but we're going to be able to see Dune safely in the theaters. I mean, for the love of God, Dune's coming out a month after I get married. Oh my God. Dune's coming out a month after I get married.
And I'm not sure at this point in time what you're more excited about.
I am absolutely excited about my marriage with lovely Sam. It's Dune. But I guess my point is that we better be in frickin' theaters for Dune, because we are going to be all at that gigantic, what do we have now? 300 guests, darling? 300 guest wedding. No, we don't have a 300 guests.
You're getting married in September?
Getting married in November. Wait, when's Dune coming out?
October 1st, 2021.
It's coming out in October? I thought it was coming out in December.
They've moved the dates around so much.
Well, it'll eventually be
December. Are you sure you're getting married in November?
I might be October.
Get married at all?
Well, that after how I just compared our wedding to Dune, I don't think I'm getting married at all. You're right.
Is she really there?
she left 4 weeks ago, and I've just been talking to a ghost. That's okay. No, we're not. No. Okay, let's go back to George Bailey killing himself to music. Okay, but my whole point of this is that I think there is, movie fans like us and movie fans like the people who are listening want to be back in the theaters as soon as possible. I do think also the regular people want to be back in the theaters. And so I think that when this thing gets safe enough, and when, we will be choosing Dune in the theater over Dune on HBO Max. We might be choosing other HBO Max instead of like in the theater. I think that could be what's happening. I know that the theaters are hitting this really tough spot. This is me really trying to hope for good for the theaters, but I don't know if it's going to really reach, but I'm hoping for it.
Well, the one positive out of this is that theaters might be like, hey, you want to see it in theaters? We're safe again. You don't want to watch it on your TV. We're changing our ticket prices to like $9 or something. So, maybe it will get more affordable. And, like you don't have to give us your first child for a large popcorn. Keep them. I don't know. It'll be interesting. We talk about Dune. I agree. I think all of those effects-heavy films need to be seen on the big screen. I'm not a huge fan of the recent Godzilla films, but Godzilla versus Kong is clearly a film that needs to be seen on the big screen. So it's a mystery to me how this happened, but there is one person that I think we can put on the mission here, and that is Gal Gadot. Who has signed on to lead Heart of Stone, which is an action film in the same vein as James Bond and the Mission Impossible films. Skydance Media is hoping to build a female-fronted action franchise out of the property. And the writer of The Old Guard is teaming with one of the writers on Hidden Figures to get this going. Sean, you're excited about this.
I absolutely love this idea. I love it. I mean, let's think about it. There's been the whole controversy of like, can Bond be a woman? Can we have a woman James Bond? And I argue that no, because you should have a different character that's like completely different, that is like, kicks ass and takes names and is something like this, where Gal Gadot, we know she's got this. Like, I mean, just like beautiful temptress. There we go. Boom. Kicks all of the ass. Boom. Perfect. And I think this will be more excited than like hearing about like, the same character as a different actor. And I love the idea of just someone like, just a female led spy series that is a franchise that can keep on going. And then, hey, who is the next? Well, I don't know the name of the female franchise, but who will replace her after like, 5, 6, 7, 10 movies? And then who would replace her after that? And this becomes a legacy. And that is something that like I love like just so much. And I'm all in for. Absolutely.
Hayley, what are your thoughts?
I'm pretty much on the same vein as Sean, to be perfectly honest. I think, like you say, with all the controversy that there's been around, you can't have a female Bond, you can't have this, you can't have that. To have somebody actually fronting up a female spy series, if it is going to be on a par with what's been created with Bond over the years, then that would be fantastic. It's definitely something that we need. We don't really have any female-led spy movies. I mean, when was the last one? You're talking like what? Charlie's Angels, that kind of
Atomic Blonde.
Atomic Blonde. There's not enough of them, and the ones that have been successful have been really successful. So they definitely need to monopolize on that sort of genre. I think it would be really well received.
I'm with you. I'm excited for it. I think she's a great choice. I do want to see her branch out a little bit more. I know she's going to be in. I always forget the name of it.
The sequel to Murder on the Orient Express.
Yes, that one.
In the Valley of Jewel of the Nile.
Thank you. Death on the Nile.
Death on the Nile. What's Jewel of the Nile?
Anyway. So I'm excited to see her in that because I think it's a different type of role for her. Not action oriented, but it'll be well. And then there's that Red Notice movie, which I'm assuming is going to be action. It's like The Rock, Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot, all of them. So that should be interesting. Franchises are obviously the big thing right now. A lot of different streamers and a lot of not production companies, but studios have been hoping to set up franchises to keep building and figure out what the next big thing is going to be. And what we also learned this week is that there are going to be seven more Kingsman films are in the planning stages, meaning that the creator of the series, Matthew Vaughn, hopes to make 7 more films in addition to The Kingsman, which has yet to come out yet, and has been bumped around a lot. I think the next date that it's supposed to come out is February. Who knows? That might be if we find out that Disney Plus is throwing Disney is throwing films onto Hulu and Disney Plus. That might be one that heads to Hulu. But we know that one of those films will be a third film with Taron Egerton in the lead, which I'm all for because he's one of my favorite actors. But do we need 7 more Kingsman films, Hayley, in addition to a TV series?
Well, I thought I saw that they said they weren't going to do the TV series now, but
maybe.
but I enjoy the Kingsman films. I think they are really good. But whether it's got enough with that story to carry it for 7 more films, I mean, what are we going to end up with? Too Fast, Too Kingsman? I mean, just like, where does it end? Are they going to end up on the moon? You know what? There seems to be too much emphasis to try and push everything to some kind of cinematic universe, to try and make everything this huge, long-running saga. And I don't think that some movie franchises they've got a few films in them, but they've not got, the continual churn of, 7 films or, and a TV series and anything else that they can bring out. Toys, etc.
An anime, like a Netflix anime series,
But yeah, I like it, but I just think it's a bit much, and I think they should probably say maybe there's probably a couple more films in there, but another 7. I think I question whether that's actually going to be achievable.
It always worries me when film runners or directors or writers are saying we have 5 movies planned or we have 7 movies planned. You think about the Harry Potter Fantastic Beast films, and right off the bat they're like, there's going to be 5 of them. And then the second one, everyone was like, ooh, not really that great. Hope you pull it back together. And then even with the Power Rangers reboot in 2017, 2017 or 2018, 2017, I think, they said they were going to go for 7 movies total. Like they thought they could go that far. But obviously that didn't happen. So I guess they see enough there at the Kingsman. They're loved enough that they're willing to go that route. But Sean, are you willing to watch all of these movies?
It's unfortunate because probably not. Mainly because I loved the first one and I loved the cool world that happened. And then the second one started to explore that world, and I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to see it anymore. It didn't really interest me anymore. I think the second one tried to be 7 different films. I think there were 7 films inside of that movie. And I just sort of said to myself, I don't know if this world is really the thing. Like, it's interesting because, the John Wick movies are the ones where I just say, like, I want to know more about what's going on in this world. This world is insane. This world is crazy. Bring more of this around. And the Kingsman movies just turned, or the 2 that we saw, just turned the world into something a little different. I am still excited for the Kingsman, which is annoying that we have to pronounce it so defiantly. But I'm still very excited to see that. I will open myself up to all of these. And, they're also action movie, spy, crime thriller kind of deal. And so they're fun. I just think that, they're already digressing. And so 7 movies, yikes. But I would be interested in a series.
Well, breaking news here. Apple has acquired The Kingsman from Disney. And much like the U2 album in years past, if you buy a new iPhone, it will come preloaded with the Kingsman.
I'm actually watching it right now.
I'm kidding. Who knows? I'm with you. I mean, I'm interested in it. The second one, though, did kind of veer into some weird territory for me. It felt a lot like Wanted, that movie with James McAvoy and Angelina Jolie. Yeah. That's what it reminded me of. But hey, that's not the only film that is looking to expand into further films or expand the story with prequels and spinoffs and whatnot. Extraction, which if I didn't realize this, or I guess I kind of forgot about this, it came out this year, which 84 years ago. I remember like the beginning of the pandemic doing a watch along on like Netflix party on Google or something for it. But anyway, that came out and we are getting another one. We know that, no spoiler talk here, but the end where you think it's going to wrap up, it kind of doesn't wrap up and leads you down another path. So who knows what's going to happen with that. But the Russo brothers are behind those films, with Joe Russo being the writer of the first, and he's working on the script for the second. He recently said that additional films could explore some of the other characters from the first movie and some new characters. I joke a lot about this in the past, but Netflix has been trying to find a franchise for a long time in terms of the film franchise, and like those big blockbusters. Extraction was one of, or is still, the most watched original film in Netflix history. So of course Netflix is on board with this. But Sean, Extraction, like the ECU, do we need like a cinematic universe of Extraction?
Let's first talk about it at the top of the list, because I do agree that a lot of people watched this, and they watched it because we are in the horrific April portion of the pandemic, where it's like in March, it's like, hey, we can do this, we're fine, and then all of a sudden we watch like a tiger documentary and we say, oh my God, give me something.
I'm going to stop you here. I'm not going to let you shit on this movie because number one,
I'm not. Wait,
Chris Hemsworth is really good in it.
I am not.
Number two,
hey, wait a minute.
Watched it because it was good,
sir. What I am saying, I like this movie. I am not shitting on Extraction. All right. I will say, though, that it's at the top of the list because pretty much everyone was in the April of pandemic and dying for new entertainment, and everyone got excited for that weekend with that action movie. Think about when you watched this that weekend. It was probably the best weekend of your life, because it was just genuinely. It was absolutely.
You're engaged.
I will not let you shit on Extraction by you not calling it the best weekend of your life. How dare you, sir?
Sorry, Sam.
Well, no, that was on a Sunday anyway. But weekend was over. But she was best day. Okay. She is going to leave.
You don't get the full weekend, but that was the best day.
But I just, I argue with Extraction. I get a little bit iffy about that top 10 list. I think it might be close to the top anyway, but a lot of people played it for about 2 minutes, and then that's what counts for a top, the top 10 list. That's all I'm saying about the Netflix top 10. I will say with Extraction, an expanded universe sounds ridiculous, because, the only expansion you need in the universe is Chris Hemsworth beating up a bunch of bad guys and having another one shot. And then this movie's amazing again. You do not need to know about all of the name the 6 other characters in Extraction. You can't even come close. What are we doing here? It's just like they're all dead. Just make another Hemsworth movie where he's just absolutely have it directed by a stunt coordinator. That's very important for this type of action movie, and just absolutely have him run the table on all the bad guys. And I'll watch it again and I'll enjoy it again. But, don't start saying we have a universe here. That seems a little bit tough, even though these are the Russos. And so that's all they know how to do. But no, sorry.
Hayley, they're saying that the potential is there to explore the other characters from the film. So not necessarily sequels and all that stuff, but at least understanding how these characters came to be. Is that something that you would watch?
I mean, I didn't really feel as Sean just said, can anyone even remember the other characters from it really anyway? There wasn't really anyone particularly stand out that you kind of go, oh, I want to know more about that particular character. I think, it was okay. I enjoyed it. It's just not a film that I would watch again. And I think that it's to have something where you're building a universe from it, it needs to be rewatchable again and again, like the Marvel films, you've got Harry Potter and all those sort of things. People will watch those films over and over, and I can't say that I think I know anybody that's watched Extraction more than once. I think, okay, maybe you then, but I think they've kind of missed a trick a little bit. If they wanted a film that Netflix had released that they want to turn into a universe, For me, surely that would be the old guard. There's way more stuff.
Yes.
There's way more history that could be used to explore other characters that have way more backstory to look into and build upon than there was in Extraction.
I agree with that. I do think the old guard is ultimately going to get a release or a new film. I think that's definitely going to happen. But they were saying for some reason that it was going to take a while, and I'm assuming that's pandemic related and probably contractually and all that stuff. I'm with you. I understand. I just like to argue. I do think that a cinematic universe of Extraction is a little bit of a stretch, especially to call it a cinematic universe. That's just a stretch to me. Much like the powers of the character in our next story, which is Plastic Man, who has the powers to stretch their limbs like that Stretch Armstrong doll that I used to have as a kid, and you would pull it. They kept saying, like, you can stretch anywhere, and then like the arm would pop off and beads would go everywhere. It was great. But anyway, the Hollywood Reporter has word that Warner Brothers in DC is developing a Plastic Man film very early in development, but instead of a male lead, they're looking at a female lead. So this kind of gets back to an interesting point I think Sean made earlier around having characters that are already existing and then saying, oh, we'll just gender swap them instead of building new characters around strong female leads. Hayley, do you have any interest in Plastic Woman?
No, and shouldn't we find a more economically friendly title for our superheroes in 2020?
Non-GMO Man.
Plastic Woman. That's going to go so well.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think I don't think the name sits overly well with me. I think considering that calling someone a plastic woman or is kind of a bit of a term to a bimbo. So I kind of think that maybe having a film based around a superhero called Plastic Woman kind of sounds a bit naff anyway. But like you say, why do we need to gender swap stuff just to give it a new angle? I mean, with all the Suicide Squad stuff that's coming out, there's a lot more female superheroes are sort of getting more, airtime anyway. I don't see why we have to kind of just swap stuff around just to kind of fit or give it a different view for, the current climate. I just not overly bothered about it. I don't really know anything much about Plastic Man anyway, so it's not a superhero I particularly know anything about.
And that's why, it's interesting you bring up Suicide Squad. Sean, I think I know where you are on this. I think you pretty much agree with Hayley on this. But what if James Gunn was the one to direct this? Would that change your opinion of it?
Sean? Yes. I mean, I think if James Gunn were to direct this, that changes my opinion on everything. If they made a remake of Green Book and James Gunn was to direct it, I'd say, that sounds good, man. Let's get James Gunn in here. Like that sounds great. I mean, I look at this and, we talk about the controversial gender swapping of Plastic Man. Nobody's ever heard of Plastic Man, and I'm being mean to comic book fans right now. My apologies, but nobody's heard of Plastic Man. And so, I think this was the studio, like the big executive studio boss is like, we need to gender swap someone. Who do we gender swap? And then it turns out to be, oh, there's this video there. There's this hero we have the rights to that no one knows anything about, like Plastic Man. Like, oh, Plastic Woman, perfect. There's no problems with that. And so I think that was their move, but I will say that if you, and this is the obvious statement, if you get the right director, if you get the right, writer behind it, James Gunn, for both of those, then we're in. I'm good. But that is just like the crux of all of this. But in the end, this seems like a property that no one knows. And so it's not going to dust up much if they change, like they do the gender swap, or if they just keep it the same. But I think it would be interesting to see, and I'd be welcome to see it without a doubt. I'm always welcome to see something new when it comes to comics because I am so unknown with that stuff that I'll welcome myself into that world.
The only way that I like the gender swaps with characters that have been established is if they build a character, a new character around the superhero power. So, if it is based in the world of Plastic Man, but we're focusing on someone else who gets the same power. And, she, during the movie, like, early on when they're like, oh, well, that's Plastic Man. And she's like, well, fuck that name. I'm going to call it, like, I'm like Stretch Girl or whatever, I don't know. Something like that. I'm all about that. I think that would be fun. But I'm cautiously optimistic. The only reason I'm that cautiously optimistic is because we've seen shit characters become big stars, right? Like, and I say shit characters, that's probably really rude. They're characters that I wasn't familiar with. Guardians of the Galaxy, a lot of the Suicide Squad characters, and now we're starting to see them really develop into their own. For instance, John Cena is playing Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad, but also then in an HBO Max series. So it's kind of, that's why I lean towards James Gunn for that. However, James Gunn apparently is not very happy with Warner Brothers right now because of our previous story of HBO Max, releasing the Suicide Squad. So I don't know. What's kind of fascinating, though, is that we are dipping back into a lot of characters that haven't been around for a while, if ever on screen, in the DC universe, but then also with Marvel and particularly with Sony. What we're seeing is that in Spider-Man 3, they're bringing back a lot of characters that were thought to be dead. So what broke today before we came on was that the upcoming third installment of Tom Holland's Spider-Man series is once again bringing a villain back that we thought was dead at the end. But hey, I mean, the Emperor survived. Doc Ock from the second Spider-Man and the original Tobey Maguire series will be back in the third Spider-Man movie that is currently filming in Atlanta. He joins Jamie Foxx's Electro, who was in the second Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is kind of funny. They're like picking the second sequel characters, but whatever. Probably means nothing. Doctor Strange is also going to be in that movie. My expectation is that this has something to do with the multiverse, and we're not getting those specific characters, but we're getting Doc Ock from Earth 395 or something. Sean, Doc Ock, Alfred Molina, yeah.
Absolutely. He was the greatest part of a excellent Spider-Man 2. He was the greatest part of the Raimi trilogy, in my opinion. He's been the best Spider-Man villain for cinema in that situation. I think that he was robbed of an Oscar nomination, and I'm not even doing a bit. He was insanely good. So bringing him back sounds great. In terms of if it's going to be it could be a different universe. It could be maybe, I don't know how Strange works, but maybe he's taking him out of the Tobey Maguire one. And so it's still when he's still alive, that's a pretty good way to do it, I think. In my opinion, it's fine if he was dead and you're bringing him back to life. Okay. They're doing that all the time now. So I'm done caring about characters dying and coming, do it to everybody. I mean, Mandalorian's doing it, but I'm done saying wait a minute, he's supposed to be dead. And I'm done with that because let's have some fun and let's just bring him back as just someone awesome anyway.
Hayley, before I jump to you, we do have some breaking news that's real this time and related to this story. This has been rumored for a while, but Collider is reporting that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are indeed coming back for the third film. Thoughts, Hayley?
Well, that's lovely. I think I mean, it just comes to me, are they trying to just generate as much buzz around this film as they possibly can? I mean, it's like a massive game of hokey cokey at the moment. 1 minute Jamie Foxx is in, then there was something earlier in the week saying he's not actually going to be in it. And I'm sure next week they'll say he is actually going to be in it. Now there's more people being introduced and they'll probably get said in a couple of weeks, no, they won't be in it. It kind of feels like a massive marketing buzz at the moment. I really want the film to be good. I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I'm a big fan of his era of the movies. Must admit, not really seen many of the Andrew Garfield ones, so can't really comment on those. But yeah, it's just I kind of just feel like it's just getting a lot of hype. And then I worry that when you hype things that much, when it actually comes to seeing it, it won't measure up to what fans are kind of already building towards thinking it's going to be, which they are hoping they're going to get, the multiverse, the Spider-Verse, the same as what we had with Miles Morales, all that kind of stuff, especially with the new game coming out and all this kind of stuff. It does really feel like it's building towards something and that they're trying to capitalize on that.
Let's take a poll. Are they going to introduce Miles Morales live action in this movie?
Oh, the casting of that will be insane if they do it. I think yes. Oh, but that messes up the animated stuff.
You said yes, Hayley. Yes or no?
I think no. I think they will look to build that in another section of it. I think they want to keep it as it is at the moment with maybe Tom Holland and the other two previous Spider-Men. I think they will capitalize on that at some point, but I don't think this is the point at which they will.
I'm with you there. I think that makes sense. Another rumor that's going around right now is that Kirsten Dunst's Mary Jane Watson will be back as well. So there's that. I don't trust Sony. I trust Marvel. So hopefully Marvel is helping. Hopefully Sony's cheating on homework here, and they're just taking the script and erasing Marvel or and putting them on. One other piece of breaking news before we get to our last story. This isn't really major breaking news, but Michelle Pfeiffer will be returning for Ant-Man 3 in the spring. So Ant-Man 3 is moving along. I actually liked her in the second one.
Yeah,
so. Lovely. All right, so let's move on to arguably the most important story of the evening here. This one makes me want to vomit. But basically what's happening is yesterday, a weird tweet came out from Lifetime debuting a trailer, or announcing, I should say at the time, A Recipe for Seduction, a mini-movie that I can't even get this story out straight. A mini-movie in which they partnered with Kentucky Fried Chicken to bring... Do you have Kentucky Fried Chicken overseas in UK? Okay.
Yeah, just KFC.
We are ignorant Americans. Or I am, at least. All right, so this is a publicity stunt. What's that?
Just checking. I said we have as well. We have everything.
Do you have McDonald's?
Blink if you have movies. Okay. The plot of this film, which is a mini film. I don't know what that means. It's debuting Saturday at noon on Lifetime, so big time slap. But a young heiress contends with the affections of a suitor handpicked by her mother. When the handsome chef, Harlan Sanders, arrives with his secret fried chicken recipe and a dream, he sets in motion a series of events that unravels the mother's devious plans. Side note, it looks like the mother wants to have sex with the other suitor in the trailer, if you watch that like I did. Will our plucky heiress escape to her wintry happily ever after with Harlan at her side, or will she cave to the demands of family and duty? If you are interested to know what's going on with this, if you use Uber Eats, I know this is happening in the States, you get 6 free extra crispy chicken tenders when you place an order of $20 or more from KFC after the film. What is this stupid? Is it genius? Is it both, Hayley?
Well, isn't it just basically the world's longest advert for KFC?
Essentially.
I mean, I know that there's been a lot of biopic stuff recently, but do we need one for Colonel Sanders? And it worries me a little bit because the bit that you said about the mum is got another suitor. I mean, is that going to be Ronald McDonald? I mean,
I do want to clarify. This is probably not true at all.
Okay.
What are we?
Mario Lopez is playing him. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
I think Hayley, I just need to cut you off for a second. And you called this a biopic, and technically it is not about how the Colonel got started. It does not include a arc of drug addiction or any sort of downfall situation. And there's not a redemptive piece at the very end that ends with several title cards. This
you don't know. You haven't seen it.
I mean, fair point.
A live walk along at noon on Saturday.
I am not spending any time on this. I don't care if I have all the time in the world.
homework for next week. You and Kevin, because Kevin's on next week. You guys have to watch that because we have to discuss it.
You brought Kevin back?
Yeah, surprise. Anyway, back to this week.
I didn't know that. That's great.
So yeah, I don't know. Is it just a massive, like you say, it's just a massive marketing ploy, isn't it? It's that's all it is. It's to get rid of some free chicken nuggets if everyone spends $20 on other chicken. And are they going to have a spin-off series about Nando's? I mean, you guys don't have Nando's, do you? So I don't know. Do we need it? Not really. And that's pretty much all I've got on that.
I mean, I think that the fried chicken universe could definitely open, and we could have a Popeyes movie. I don't want to get into the casting of that, but that could be interesting.
I mean, you've got to introduce them in diversity, so you've got to have Dairy Queen, obviously. So
Dairy Queen actually has good food.
Oh God, let's go. What do we do? What's that?
Wrapping up here. So once again, for all of you that want to watch that, it is on Lifetime in the States. I'm not sure what time it debuts or when it debuts overseas.
Oh yeah, you got to see that.
But you can get free chicken. That's basically all we need to know.
That's all it is. I think it's silly. It's dumb. It got people talking. I think that's funny.
It's fun.
So good on them. So wrapping up, movies on the move. 2 things to report real quick. The pandemic heist movie Lockdown is heading to HBO Max. I believe that's the one with Anne Hathaway and other people, but hey, HBO Max, they just acquired that. So that's happening. Monster Hunter, which we didn't talk about tonight, but Monster Hunter released in China, and there was a 10-second scene where a statement is made that was perceived as being racist to Chinese culture. So it was pulled from theaters. This is the Mila Jovovich film. I believe it's a video game adaptation. They're hoping, I guess, to put it back in the theaters with the scene removed. It was supposed to come out on Christmas here in the US. It'll be coming out a week earlier because, hey, controversy. So that will be coming out December 18th in whatever theaters are open. This week's new releases: Smiley Face Killers on VOD, Arch Enemy, which is a movie I just learned about today that kind of seems fun. It's Elijah Wood and Joe Manganiello. It's like some weird dark superhero type thing, but I'm into it. I'm Your Woman is hitting Prime Video. Safety, which looks like a total tearjerker about a player at Clemson University, is hitting Disney Plus. That's a perfect Disney Plus film, or Disney film in general. The Prom is hitting Netflix. Can't wait. Wander Darkly is hitting Apple TV Plus. I don't know much about that one. And Wild Mountain Time is hitting VOD. Hayley, we can't thank you enough for being here. It's always tough to try to get you on because our time differences are so crazy, but where can people find you?
So yeah, on Instagram, I'm at Unlimited Reviews. I've also just started up a Facebook page, which is also called Unlimited Reviews. So you'll be able to find some stuff on there. But yeah, it's like 11 p.m. here. So shortly I'll be in bed.
Very, very nice. And Sean, where can people find you?
They can find me at Math Teacher Movies on Instagram and Math Teacher Movies on Facebook. I do Monologue Mondays, What the Oscars Got Wrong Wednesdays, Final Shot Fridays, and I do movie reviews and TV reviews from old and new times.
Man, that's getting tighter and tighter every week.
I'm getting good. I'm getting good.
Getting good. And you can find me, Guy at the Movies, on Instagram at Guy at the Movies or guyatthemovies.com, Guy at the Movies 1 on Twitter. And we are starting to stream this to Twitch, if that's your thing. It's very complicated for me, and I feel very old trying to use it. But that's happening. So you can find us there. One announcement that I have, for a while we were doing trivia or Quizzo, depending on where you are in the world, in the States. We were doing movie trivia. What quickly became kind of obvious to me was that there's a big market for it in terms of people having a lot of fun doing it, and it's a nice way to build community. And that's one of the things that we will all talk to you about on the side if you're interested in. But the community aspect of being a cinephile on Instagram or elsewhere is a lot of fun. You meet a lot of great people. So Guy at the Movies is partnering with the guys over at the Chumpcast to kind of enhance trivia and take it to the next level. It'll branch out of movies a little bit and get into some TV entertainment, which I know a lot of people are very interested in and very knowledgeable of. But we will be starting that on December 17th. The first one is going to be holiday themed, so we will be theming them as well. So it'll be holiday movies, and it'll be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for more information on that, but I'm very excited to partner with those guys because they're a lot of fun. They have some good content. So check them out at the Chumpcast. You can listen to this podcast anywhere that you get your podcasts, on any platform. It comes out on Wednesday morning. So if you're here for the live recording, we thank you very much. Please listen again tomorrow or tune in and like and subscribe, as well as comment on Apple Podcasts. That really helps us, and we enjoy reading them. It's a lot of fun. Sean, you have a PSA for people.
Hey, you want to go to theaters again? You want to go to theaters? You want to go inside those theaters, Christopher Nolan? You like those theaters? You want to go in there? Yeah, but for the love of God, if you want to go back to theaters, wear your mask so this thing can friggin' stop, and then we can go to theaters again. Wear your mask, wear your mask, wear your mask. Yes, but technically this deleted YouTube video. I don't care. Wear your mask.
But Facebook said.
Or you can just be about 90-year-old in the UK and you can get vaccinated, so then you're all good.
Or William Shakespeare. Yeah.
Yeah, 90-year-old William Shakespeare in. Oh, man. Hey, so hopefully everyone stays safe. Please wear your damn mask. Get out there. Don't get out there. Stay in there is what I meant to say. Stay in there. It won't last too long if we all just sit on our asses. All right. We will continue producing the fun content for you each and every week. But Hayley, first and foremost, thank you so much for being here. It was a blast.
Thank you, Hayley.
Thanks for having me and arranging your times to suit me.
I'm surprised. I'm so happy that you stayed awake, because if I was recording at your time, yeah, exactly. I would be like, usually when we record at 7:00 Eastern, I'm like, ugh. So there's that. But hey, everyone, have a good week, and we'll talk soon.
Bye.